Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, from Will Smith smacking Chris Rock in the face to, all that bullshit that's going on in Ukraine and everything in between. Today I wanted to talk about something that has, depending on how you look at it, a little bit darker of an undertone. So, it was leaked just today, a couple of conversations that some Disney execs were having over a Zoom call, and it details not so hidden agenda in their forthcoming productions. And those are not my words, those are theirs. I've got two conversations pulled up. We'll go through both of them and just take a look at what they have to say. Now, I'm not here to make any assertions. I can give you my opinions on what's going on, but I'm not an expert in any of this. I just find it all a bit disturbing, to say the least. So we'll just go ahead and get on with this first one. This first one is Disney corporate president Carrie Burke. So we'll see what she's got to say.
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually. One transgender child and one pansexual child.
Okay, so I want to address that for a second. First of all, I want to know how old her kids are. Because if we can't trust kids to buy cigarettes, drink alcohol, drive, buy a firearm, or vote, how can we just say that they are transgender? Have they undergone any surgery that would reassign them? And as far as the pansexual child, now to be honest, I don't think anybody really knows what pansexual actually means. Now, to the best of my understanding, it's all about emotional connections and things of that sort. I don't know. Basically, as far as I know, it just means you can fuck anybody you want. So, I don't know.
And also as a leader. And that was the thing that really got me, because I have heard so much from so many of my colleagues over the course of the last couple of weeks, in open forums and through emails and phone conversations. And I feel a responsibility to speak, not just for myself, but for them, to all of us. We had an open forum last week at 20th where, again, the home of really incredible, groundbreaking LGBTQIA stories over the years, where one of our...
At a certain point, they're going to have enough letters and numbers and symbols in there to where you could more easily calculate pi. Fuck's sake.
Our exec stood up and said, we only have a handful of queer leads in our content. And I went, what? That can't be true. And I realized, it actually is true. We have many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads and narratives in which gay characters just get to be characters.
Now, see, here's the problem that I have with this, is that I don't think it's actually possible for them to put one of these characters into their movies, into their films, and just have it be a character. Because you know that their sexuality is going to be on Front Street. Unless they have, I don't know, some obviously feminine-looking man or vice versa. I have no idea. But it's not, there's definitely an agenda here, because there's no way that you could actually get a character in there who identifies as one of these things and the audience to actually blatantly be able to know about it and recognize it without actually making it plain and simple. Like, this is the character. This character is transgender. This character is gay. This character is, et cetera, et cetera.
And not have to be about gay stories. And so that's been very eye-opening for me.
Again, I don't think that's possible.
And I can tell you, it's something that I feel perhaps had this...
No, let me clarify that. Let me clarify that, because I think it is, you can have a movie about Freddie Mercury or something and not have him being gay as the focal point of the story. Obviously, the focal point of the story is Freddie Mercury's music career. And then as a side plot, obviously, everything that went on with his... didn't he have AIDS? Am I correct in that? I don't know. I don't know my Freddie Mercury history trivia. But with a kids movie, why? Why is this something that is important for kids to see and know about? It's lost on me as to the logic here. Hey, I understand they want to normalize these kinds of characters' representation in film, but it's not really prevalent in society. It's no more prevalent in society than they are making it. And I'll show you why here, because I brought some receipts.
Moment not happened, I as a leader and me as my colleagues would not have focused on. And going forward, I certainly will be more so. I know that we will be, and I hope this is a moment where, the 50% of the tears, sorry, are coming. We just don't allow each other to go backwards.
So, backwards into what? A functional family unit? Is that what they're trying to avoid going backwards into? Like, come on. Again, I've got other stuff to support this. We'll get into that later. But this is another post by Sir Christopher Rufo by Latoya Revenue, I guess is her name. Executive producer. Has a not at all secret gay agenda. Okay, well, let's see what she has to say about that.
It's like, I love Disney's content. I grew up watching, all of the classics. They have been a huge, informative part of my life. But
so then what's wrong with him? What did you see that was wrong with him? If you loved him so much, why change the formula?
At the same time, I worked at small studios most of my career, and I'd heard, you hear whispers. I'd heard things like, oh, they won't let you show this at a Disney show. And I'm like, okay. So I was a little, sus when I started. But then my experience was bafflingly the opposite of what I had heard. On my little pocket of, proud family Disney TVA, the showrunners were super welcoming. Meredith Roberts and, our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda. And so I feel like I felt like it was...
See, she's just admitting it right there. If you don't want your children, and I'm speaking from a place where I don't have any kids, so I can't really speak a whole lot to what parents actually want. But I know that if I did have children, I wouldn't want a gay agenda, so to speak, being blatantly thrown in their face, because it's confusing enough growing up and being a kid. I know because I was one. It's confusing enough, so I don't need to be showing them all kinds of stuff that's different from, mommy and daddy's marriage. You have two adult men or two adult women together, and they start asking questions, and you have to answer those questions. And, when you answer those questions, they have more questions, and all it does is serve to confuse them about what's the right way to go about these things. And I'm not saying that there is a right way or a wrong way, but there is a way in which they occur. The usual way. So why they're propagating this not-so-secret gay agenda is beyond me.
Maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess something must have happened in the last they're turning it around, they're going hard, and then all that momentum that I felt, that sense of I don't have to be afraid to let's have these two characters kiss.
Why do they need that? Again, it's stories which are sort of sexual in nature. I understand that they've had characters kiss in Disney movies before, this wouldn't be the first time. Again, it speaks to that this is a blatant effort to normalize certain types of behavior. And God knows where it'll go from here.
Background, like I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to like if you see anything
just
queer,
peppering it in everywhere.
But like I just was like, no one would stop me and no one was trying to stop me.
See, and look at how narcissistic she is about her whole agenda that she is putting into these films. She's so narcissistic that she wants her viewpoint shoved through a television screen into kids' brains, as if her way of viewing the world is correct. I'm not saying that mine is. I know that the way that I view the world results in more children being born. That's all that I can say about it. I don't have any problem with people expressing other modes of living, so to speak. But the way that she speaks about this is that she's blatantly shoving these things through your television screen into your kids' brains to show them that this is the best way to go about this. This is the best way to live life. This is how you live your best life. This is how you live in your truth and you stand in your power. That's the new catchphrase of the modern progressive, is standing in your power. Everyone has an intrinsic power. Come on. Okay. Well, where does this go? Where does this go? Because if you're like me, you've probably noticed that there is a substantial increase in content which depicts these kinds of things. So, I've got here this Axios article. The number of LGBTQ identifying adults is soaring. Gen Z, 1 in 5. 1 in 5 Gen Z adults identifies as LGBTQ. Now, albeit, it does say bisexual in here. So they like men and women. Both biological assignments. But even still, look at this increase. From down here, born before 1946, 0.8. Millennials, 10.5. And then shooting up over 10%. That's a 100% increase, over a 100% increase in Gen Z. And why, might you ask? Well, I mean, the human brain isn't necessarily done developing until the age of about 25. And right now, let's see, born 1997 to 2003, right now the 1997, the earlier Gen Zs would just be turning 25. So one might imagine that before one's brain is done developing, they might be a little bit more influenced into believing certain things about society, about themselves, about other people. I mean, obviously these people are impressionable. Now, I haven't read it, but Abigail Schreier actually wrote a book. What is it called? I believe it's called Irreparable Damage. And basically, I'm getting the summary from her episode on Joe Rogan's podcast a while back. But her assertion is that there is a drastic increase in young women who identify as LGBT. And a lot of that has to do with peer pressure and group identity. Women want to be more part of a group, so they are more likely to join in with their friends in identifying as an LGBTQAIP plus member. So, and you can argue, oh yeah, society has become more accepting of these things, which, granted, is true. This shit is championed now. It is championed all over society to the point where you can't walk down a fucking street without seeing some sort of a rainbow flag posted somewhere. These people are proud of it. They're proud of it. Why are you so proud of who you go to bed with? Doesn't really make any difference to anybody else except those who go to bed with the same type of people, with the same sex. Or whatever. I don't even know. You can't define any of these things because the lines are so blurred. They're so blurred between what is real, what's not real, what's all a societal construct, what's all in your head. How can you define anything? You cannot define anything anymore. Because what it is, it's all just, how do you feel today? Demigender, cisgender, genderqueer, all of these different things that don't mean anything because they're all made up words that were all made up within the last 5 years. Anyway, I'm getting a little carried away. But let me show you something, because I don't think it's an accident. I really don't think it's an accident, because it seems to me like they want, and by they I mean the powers that be, want we as humans, as society members, as good little citizens, to be just these amorphous blobs, easily dominated. And when you get rid of the masculine out of a society, that society is very easily dominated. It's true. It's true. I mean, you can look at history and look at the Roman Empire and what was going on in the Roman Empire back in the years before it fell, and the same damn thing was happening. They were playing around with gender identity and gender roles and all that stuff. And once a society becomes strong enough, the people get lazy and they get complacent. And now you've got a generation of men who are afraid to approach a woman. Share of men and women between ages 18 and 30 reporting no sex in the past year. And of course, this is 2018. But look at this. 28%, almost a third of men between 18 and 30 have had no sex over the past year. And 18% of women, which is actually also pretty surprisingly high. And it leads to this, directly to this. Current birth rates, well, as of 2019, 1.7 births. Now you might ask yourselves, how much does it take to maintain a population? 2.1. So as of right now, our population is in decline. And again, if I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on, part of me thinks that might be part of the plan. The plan by the powers that be, the lizard people. I mean, there's just all kinds of different side effects to this kind of influence that a major entertainment conglomerate could have. The reason that these Zoom meetings were apparently happening was in response to the Florida bill, the Don't Say Gay bill, as a lot of people like to call it. Well, let me tell you this much. Not once in that bill does it say gay. And I've got it pulled up here. In fact, the only part of the bill that anybody really has an issue with is this one, paragraph 3. And I'll read it. A school district may not encourage classroom discussions about sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students. And by primary grade levels, they mean kindergarten through 3rd grade, ages like 4 to 9. In no way does that mention the word gay. In no way does that mention the word straight. So as far as I'm concerned, the way that this bill actually reads, you can't talk about sexual relationships at all. No, correction. You can't have classroom discussions about sexual relationships at all. Now, if you've got a gay teacher, a gay 1st grade teacher, who's got a picture of him and his partner in Aspen with their skis and their, ski goggles and all that stuff, and a kid comes up to his desk and points at the picture and says, "Hey, Mr. So-and-so," or "Mix so-and-so, who's that?" The teacher can then answer, "Oh, well, that's my partner." And the kid will be like, "Okay." It's not saying you can't, like if a kid asks a question, you can answer the question. It's saying you cannot encourage classroom discussions about sexual orientation or gender identity. So if you're going to, basically the way that I'm reading this is if you sit all of your kids down on the carpet, sit them crisscross applesauce, and say, "Okay, class, today we're going to talk about why you might not actually be the gender which your parents think you are." That's what they can't do. And the bill also goes and says that you have to basically tell the parents of the kids everything that goes on, any issues that the kid has, this and that and the other thing. I've read the bill. I'm not going to go all the way back through the bill right now, but this is the only part that mentions anything about gender identity and sexual orientation. Everything else has to do with, more or less, speaking with the parents and not restricting information to the parents. So that's what all of this shit is in response to. I mean, it even says all hands meeting about the Florida parental rights bill. So that's what the purpose of this whole Zoom meeting was about. Is the Florida Don't Say Gay bill. So anyway, I mean, there's a lot of things you could go over, a lot of rabbit holes you could fall down. Some people are saying that, this is all an effort to groom children for, what's a word I might be able to use on YouTube? Interest in children of an immoral nature. You could say that, I suppose. I mean, if you can get kids to open up about, all kinds of these things, if you can mold their little brains into accepting, all of these different things, then you could really just mold their brains into accepting anything. Do I think that's what's going on? Maybe. I ain't gonna rule it out. I mean, we kind of forgot about Jeffrey Epstein, but he kind of had a lot of influence. Did he not? So, anyway, I will leave it there. Thank you all for watching. If you stuck with me this long, I really appreciate it. Have yourself a good day and go pick up something heavy. Peace.